My name is Osei-Opare and this is Election Brief. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 and all our social media handles at Joy News on TV. My personal handle is at Nana Aisha. Election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, and AICPA together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental Wellness and Beauty, Chopbox Technologies, a convenience service, and the Youth Bridge Foundation. Election headquarters is for an informed electorate. Traders at Dormit Market have openly expressed support for the appointment of the current Chief of Staff, Frema Osei-Opare, as the running mate of Dr. Mahama Bawumia for the upcoming 2024 elections. The traders believe Osei-Opare's experience and dedication makes her an ideal candidate to partner with Dr. Bawumia in the presidential race.
Yeah, we know you on about Frema Palintin and they are from. As I say, your man, you are bad time. You shut a man up, oh, man, your man, you have to go for bar. You shut some you on another mambo, I could see, I'm on your bar, or some woman gonna for a man. Why about that? And to get a from on say, yeah, we know at the Chihuahua, you can from a Palibao, Fana. Commitment you be market. And not to be a system where 2 years from some woman for a year the other day and 2 anymore. Here, the say about Bawumia. Said the no brand was it. Dear man about a police brand who's was in. Omobio Nunamwa about why a Jadifonso and mine. And not to buy a buy and yes, every before penny 4. I'm going to be a woman. Papa Bawumia Trawaji, more being Trawaji, yes, so said Yamano Frema Osei-Opare and your panel. Yamami, I'm a wow, no, you would do Sumawa, and I know a cheap and shadow on the market. The Bawumia to your time of Bawumia and a Madam Opare. Yes, a man, no Frema, no vote. Yes, Bawumia, no Frema, no vote. Fiantu abana ama Frema yeti ase ya twamano because oyo ba o abadaye yero Bawumia you oba Frema maye no maye ni e mani esu ye nya ma mi Frema Osei-Opare sanso no oyo ba time oyo ba oti mase do be market akeche the way oti ye which goes up you done ma o maye do me market za maye ye hwe na ye paye papa Bawumia chawo se onyi Frema mi Frema Osei-Opare ye hwe na mi tende Bawumia ye person be your president maye na e man nso yenso ye tabu ayeye eti ye sramu fa mami Frema fani pra Opare no amra me advice na yenso ye no mra nyam ama yenso ye bi ayeye to papa eti kasi ya so for ma about the human na me kasai no fa mami Opare no amra me advice maye.
From the NPP, let's get to the NDC camp because flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, says the task at the presidency is a serious responsibility that should be entrusted to capable individuals. He says the job of the president should not be trivialized in political campaigning. Mr. Mahama questioned why the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia, will claim credit for positive outcomes of the NPP government, but refused to accept responsibility for the NPP's poor governance.
Vice President and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahama Bawumia, on campaign trains have been reiterating desires to further the NPP's governance after the 2024 election. In what seems like an indirect jab at Dr. Bawumia's popular catchphrase of accessing the steer by Ghanaian voters, former President Mahama said, "There is no place for outdated lies and empty slogans." Mr. Mahama emphasized that Ghanaians are facing critical times, needing genuine efforts to alleviate their suffering rather than shirking essential duties and offering vain promises.
The leadership of Ghana and the office of President are weighty and must be approached with the utmost seriousness. Ghanaians are in dire straits, and this is not the time for comedy. This is not the time Ghanaians are in dire straits, and this is not the time for comedy. This is not the time for concert party about passing a mythical steer to somebody. There is no space for stale falsehoods and gaslighting. Those trivializing the suffering and pain of Ghanaians and reducing important matters of governance to empty slogans and desperate promises cannot come near the leadership of this country.
According to Mr. Mahama, this is not time for jokes and entrusting leadership to someone who is responsible for the country's current turmoil.
Those whose glaring failures at economic management have sucked us into this vortex of despair, despite their lofty talk in opposition, and who now seek to flee from responsibility, cannot be rewarded with the presidency of a nation in such deep crisis. And it is unimaginable to think that those who claim, that some claim, that it's better to have an economy that has defaulted on debt, causing over 1 million bondholders, including elderly pensioners, to suffer financial haircuts, still would try to convince Ghanaians that they are in a much better position than one in which debt servicing was done timeously, without defaults, and when nobody suffered any financial loss. The presidency cannot be handed over to those who present themselves as the future, when they have been the epicenter of our disastrous present.
Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabwa.
Meanwhile, a second-year student of a Christian Service University has sustained a head injury after he was allegedly assaulted by some supporters of the NDC in Kumasi. The incident happened at a public lecture organized to mark the school's 50th anniversary, addressed by former president and flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama. The victim, Nana Bwachi, who is said to be an organizer of the NPP Students' Wing, TESCON, is alleged to have retorted to Mr. Mahama's description of Dr. Mahama Bawumia as a comedian in his speech. Nana Ojima caught up with the victim and has come through with this report.
The NDC flag bearer, delivering his lecture at the Christian Service University, took a swipe at his NPP opponent, Dr. Mahama Bawumia.
Ghanaians are in dire straits, and this is not the time for comedy. This is not the time for concert party about passing a mythical steer to somebody.
Many of the people gathered at the public lecture applauded the jab, but the TESCON organizer of the NPP at the university was unhappy. Nana Bwachi allegedly retorted to the statement to the hearing of people seated with him, but an NDC supporter did not take the statement lightly.
I also responded, say, Mahama Obwa na Obere. That was what I said. Then Later on, I saw a metro man who approached me and giving me some warning that be careful, be careful. So I also asked him, what have I done? And then the moment I asked the question, he came directly and slapped me in front of the former president when he was answering some questions that has been asked by some of the students. So a lecturer on our campus asked me to leave where I was sitting and then find a different place to sit. So I left where I was sitting, and then suddenly the former term president came to me that he has heard that the people are chanting that they will kill me, they will do this and that, bad things to me. So it's better I leave the auditorium and then find a good place to hide. So quickly I listened to him and then followed him. So on our way out of the auditorium, when we got to the main entrance of the auditorium, I heard another slap. Bang. So out of that, I was unable to see anything or something sort of that. And then I also saw one guy also who held my hand back, and they started beating me, my stomach, my head and stuff.
The second-year student of communications has his head wrapped in a bandage. A splint also supports his arm. An attempt to rescue him proved futile. I'm
feeling very weak. My head is very, very paining me. And this, I cannot lift my hand because I felt I've had some fracture here. So I'm waiting for the CCTV scan, then I'll take the next step. I feel unsafe, very, very unsafe, because some of them came with their phones and then they took pictures of me, threatening that they know where I stay, the car I drive, so they are going to track me. That makes me very, very unsafe.
Meanwhile, the NPP in the Ashanti region is appalled by the situation. The victim is yet to file a complaint to the police. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
I've been joined by Nanaya Ojima for an update. Nanaya, what's the condition of this student we are talking about, and has the matter been reported to the police?
With the gentleman, and from what he was saying, he's feeling better. He's gradually recovering from the injuries that he was sustained during the event. Now, another information that I've been picking is that this morning he was invited by the Christian Service University authorities to come and meet them, listen to him, and get the full picture of what actually happened on the day. Also, after the meeting with the school authorities, I understand that he went straight to the Sofolai police station here in Kumasi to also file an official complaint at the police station. So the police has picked the matter up, and according to him, the police say they will investigate and get to the bottom of the matter. So far, what he can actually report is that the gentleman is stable. He's recovering. Today, he went back to the hospital for further treatment at the hospital, and also the school authorities have also invited him this morning. He went and they also had deliberations with him. So far, the gentleman is in good condition.
Have you had any response from the NDC's camp? Right, I think there's a bit of a connection problem, but thankfully we have the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande. Mustafa, how do you react to accusations that your supporters attacked a student who reacted to your flag bearer's description of Dr. Bawumia as a comedian? It looks like we just lost Mustafa Gbande. We'll try and bring him back to respond to this. But as we wait for him, former President and NDC flag bearer John Mahama says his party is going into the 2024 general elections with what he refers to as their own referee. He says the Electoral Commission has been filled with known current governing NPP party folks, denting the independence and fair image of the electoral body. He says the posture of the Electoral Commissioner depicts a potential inability to conduct free and fair elections in 2024. Speaking at the Christian Service University in Kumasi, Mr. Mahama said the NDC will punch the NPP in a way the EC cannot rig on their behalf.
In 2020, a lot of things went wrong. And we don't accuse the Electoral Commission for nothing. There were circumstances that we have raised over and over again about the Electoral Commission not being neutral. Indeed, it might also be the fact that this government concocted reasons to remove the 3 electoral commissioners and replace them with people of their choice. Some of those who are appointed to the commission are people with known NPP credentials. Even though the president has the power to appoint, you must make sure that the person you appoint has no iota or evidence of partisan political affiliation. But this president doesn't care. People who were patrons of TESCON today are sitting on the Electoral Commission. A commissioner said that NDC was the most serious existential threat to Ghana's democracy. A commissioner. And he's still a commissioner. He described NDC as the biggest existential threat to Ghana's democracy. And he's still there. How do you expect somebody like that to conduct a free and fair election? But, like Azuma Nelson said, this time we're going into the ring with our own referee. And that is what happened when Azuma went to fight Jeff Fenech in Australia. And Ghanaians were upset with Azuma because he accepted to go and fight in Australia. And he said Ghanaians shouldn't worry, and that he's going into the ring with his own referee. And everybody was confused who his referee was. And he said his referee are his punches. And that he will punch Jeff Fenech to the extent that when the man is down, you can't declare him the winner.
You heard there John Mahama there. Thankfully, Nana Ojima is back on the line. Nana Ojima, I earlier wanted to find out if you've had any response from the NDC's camp.
So far this morning, we tried reaching out to the communication team of the National Democratic Congress. Unfortunately, they tell us that they will come out when the time is due. As of now, they do not have any response to the allegations that are being leveled against the supporters of the party.
Right, Nana Ojima there will bring you updates on this, and as we're also trying to get Mustafa Bande for some reaction. But as the campaign activities towards the 2024 elections intensify, the 2 major political parties are prioritizing professional bodies who they are hoping to tap in the experiences to build a comprehensive manifesto. Both the NDC flag bearer John Mahama and the NPP's flag bearer Dr. Bawumia have all engaged one professional body or the other to gauge their moods on what will be satisfactory to them in terms of a manifesto. Now we're even seeing the running mates, Jane Nano Pokwajiman of the NDC's flag bearer, who is also meeting professional bodies as she engaged female journalists yesterday. What impact will this make as far as campaign messaging and electoral fortunes of the 2 flag bearers are concerned? I've been joined by political marketing strategist at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Kobi Mensah. Grateful for your time, Prof. Let's look at the strategy of trying to tie in all the professional bodies and have their input in this important document. What impact in terms of strategy will this make in their messaging and eventually their electoral fortunes?
Asha, thanks for having me. Obviously, the professional people obviously have a lot of insight. Not only the idea that they are professionals, they also belong to the society. Of course, they have family members, and they're quite influential. You can imagine Aisha telling your mom about this particular election and the way perhaps they would actually consider the issues we all do. We engage our family members, we engage our friends. Sometimes they consult our opinions, on electoral issues, on policy issues. And so they have quite a lot of insight to give the political parties. Over the period or over the years, focus groups have been quite, important to political parties in the framing and development of their policies and of their messaging, etc. And so this particular move, which is not the first in the processes that political parties have been doing, quite a lot of times political parties have actually, used professionals to do that. I think that it's quite, a good approach that the political parties should do, so that they can gauge the sense of the people. Don't forget, media personalities, apart from their own feeling, they also have a lot of insight from the general public. Reporters are going throughout the country. Yourself, for example, you get a lot of insights. People speak to you on camera, off camera, so many other, insights that sources that you gain insight from. So I think that it's a great, contribution to their strategy.
After such intensive engagement, what will be your expectation of that document, the manifesto?
Well, I feel that, it has to be a manifesto that is very much, a reflection of what they have gleaned. There's one thing, engaging people, and there's another, making sure that these views are actually reflecting the document, which is the manifesto. And then, of course, going ahead to implement it, And so you have a three-stage approach, if you like. The idea that you're listening to them, the idea that after you've listened to them, you incorporate it in the document, and the idea that you implement. So you wouldn't have to just meet them for PR purposes or any other, and then of course you do not actually factor that in your operations. I think that would be wrong. So certainly it is a good approach.
Grateful for your time, Professor Kobe Mensah. Now let's get to the NPP's camp, because supporters of the NPP in Wale Wale are urging the National Executive Council to resolve the election dispute between the candidate-elect Dr. Tia Mahama Kabiru and the defeated incumbent MP Hajia Laraba Zuwairatu Abudu. The conflict arose after Laraba Abudu contested the election results favoring Kabiru, Bawumia's advisor. At a Wale Wale press conference, supporters appealed to the NEC to address Abudu's conduct, which they say is causing party disunity and threatening its electoral prospects. There's more in this report.
Is mounting between and among supporters of the new patriotic party in the Wale Wale constituency, the home constituency of the vice president and the party's presidential candidate, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
We are coming out to tell Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia that if he wants to lose the seat in the name of Asia, we will let him lose the seat in the name of Asia. Because you saying that Asia is your sister, Asia is never related to you. If the party is now concerned about family, then all of us should go inside and vote our family members.
The party is now facing growing divisions occasioned by the refusal of the incumbent member of parliament, Hajia Laraba Zuwairatu Abudu, to accept the results of the January parliamentary primaries, in which, according to the Electoral Commission, she was defeated by a technical advisor to the vice president, Dr. Tia Mahama Kabiru. Hajia Laraba has filed a case in court challenging the election results, alleging, amongst others, that the election was riddled with malpractice and irregularities. In court, the defeated member of parliament is said to be asking for auditing of the ballot as well as the voters' register used for the elections. She has, however, refused to stand down her decision to pursue the matter in court, despite several attempts by all caliber of personalities in the party, including the vice president himself. The case has suffered 9th postponement in court, while tensions continue to mount across the constituency ahead of the 2024 general elections. The brewing tension compelled the party's regional chairman of the Council of Elders to make public statement blaming Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia for failing to resolve a simple disagreement in his own constituency. Listen to now Suleiman and Nabila.
Not a leadership failure of anybody's part.
What is it?
It may be a leadership failure on the part of the vice president. Since this thing started, He knows so well that people organize the party agitate, and he's now where he is. If I tell you, he has never called me one day.
About this incident?
Yes, to ask me about this incident. You see, the problem is they say Larva is the sister, and you don't want to disgrace the sister. But if you don't want to disgrace your sister will disgrace you.
After his comment, supporters of the feuding candidate violently clashed during a live radio program at Eagle FM. The police later intervened and prevented further escalations. Following the Regional Council of Elders chairman's statement, the two candidates were invited to a meeting in Accra, attended by the Vice President and other high-value members of the New Patriotic Party, including the Attorney General Godfrey Dame, in a further attempt to internally resolve the matter. Joy News, however, learned that the incumbent member of parliament at the meeting insisted on waiting for the outcome of her court action. This has further provoked the party supporters in the constituency.
We are calling on NEC to call Ajia Ladwa Zueda Abudu, the MP for Walawali, to order because her conduct is causing disaffection in the party in Walawali today.
At a press conference in Walewale, the supporters appealed to the party's National Executive Council to intervene to save the party from losing the seat and disgracing the presidential candidate, Dr. Bawumia.
We urge the party leadership to intervene and persuade her to accept the will of the people.
The supporters, however, want to vote against the vice president and the New Patriotic Party if he continued to support her sister against the will of the party members. We are tired of her. She is very disrespectful and has no regard for anyone in Walewale here. But we are demanding that she go. We are doing this because we want Dr. Bawumia to win the elections. But we will not hesitate to vote against him if he continues to support her so-called sister.
Allow Dr. Bawumia, please do well and help us. Don't say that, oh, she's your sister. That doesn't mean that you are going to pull us back. So, she's never your sister. We know that. We know your sisters. Your mother never gave birth to a lady. So please try and help us. We want Dr. Kabir. We don't need anybody. That's what I have.
From Walewale, Ilyas Sutanko for Joy News.
And this is your election brief. It's on your election headquarters. Election headquarters is for an informed electorate. Log on to myjoinline.com and you will find more of the news and updates on all the developing stories. So you will find some politics here. Election is about competence, ideas, not religion or ethnicity, and help solve Ghana's economic woes. That's what Kofi Amoah brings the business executives. Ghanaians cautioned against election violence and conflict. There's 2024 polls, no party or candidate will be allowed to destabilize our peace. That's Akufo-Addo. And my name is Aisha Ibrahim. To enjoy the rest of our programs.